In 2006, Chamillionaire had the #1 song in the country, a platinum album, and a Grammy sitting on his shelf. He was everywhere. Radio, TV, LimeWire. You couldn't go 5 minutes without hearing the words,
"They see me rolling, they hating."
And then he disappeared. No arrest, no public meltdown, no diss tracks, just silence. 1 minute, he's on top of the world, and the next, he's gone. People said that he fell off, and they assumed that he just couldn't keep up, that he was another rapper who cashed in quick and faded out quicker. But they had no idea what he was really doing, because while everybody else was chasing fame, Chamillionaire was chasing equity. He left the rap game on purpose and started investing in companies most rappers didn't even know existed. He got in early on Ring Doorbell before Amazon bought it for $1 billion. He put money in Cruise, an automated self-driving car company, before GM dropped a $300 million bag on it. And when Disney pulled up with the $500 million check for Maker Studio, he was right there to cash in due to his early investment. He didn't stop rapping because he lost. He stopped because he won. From being in the public spotlight and raking in tons of money from his music to walking away and becoming richer than damn near everybody who stayed in the game. This is the story of Chamillionaire.
We got the color change and lizard. You know me as the King Cooper. Already. You heard me? That's how we doing. Color change on the bars.
The crazy thing about it is people smoke because they are attracted to that. You know what I'm saying? To me, I never had that attraction for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, my attraction is getting money and being successful. Like, it sounds crazy. A lot of people say it to be fly, but that's really me because I've seen so many people that was older and they ain't have nothing. And I'm sitting there around them, around grown folks, and I'm a young kid seeing them and they complain about their lives. I'm like, man, I'm not gonna allow this to be my life.
Like buying jewelry. I was buying a whole bunch of jewelry and I had that, but then I'm gonna leave that up to all the youngsters or the people that's just trying to show off. Because once you really get money, you don't even gotta do all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? You start to spend your money on wiser investments and stuff like that. So I actually do have a lot of cars, but the cars that I got are more business. I have a company called Flyrise and we actually make money off of those. Like if you see a car in a video, like the Riding Dirty video, that car was a one that we created, you know what I mean? So that's like a business. It's not just having 100 cars just to have 100 cars. Other than the car shop, right now I'm getting into the studio business and some real estate. I actually do real estate right now, you know. That's the main thing that I'm trying to focus on right now because it's so much money in that. And actually the guy that had got me into my first house, he's a football player. And he made more money doing real estate than he did in the NFL. So I was like amazed at that. And ever since then, I always wanted to get
Chamillionaire, real name Hakeem Sariki, was born on November 28, 1979 in Washington, D.C., but by the age of 4, his family relocated to Houston, Texas, more specifically, the north side of town, in the Acres Home neighborhood, which was a place known to be a tough area.
Pull up to the hood and Acres Home anywhere on the north side, bro, and they say friendly store, that shit not friendly, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
His household was a mix of discipline and tension. His father was a Nigerian immigrant and a strict Muslim and didn't allow rap music in the house at all. That meant no CDs, no cursing, no hip hop, none of it. His mother, on the other hand, was a devoted Christian and worked 2 jobs just to make ends meet. In between it all, Chamillionaire found himself between 2 different worlds, both culturally and emotionally. He talked about seeing domestic violence growing up and having to navigate through it, saying in an interview with MV Music back in May of 2005 that, quote, I had to deal with the same struggles that any other low-income family child dealt with growing up. Domestic violence, and my mom was working 2 jobs to maintain were some of the things that I was dealing with. But even with all the chaos at home, Chamillionaire still found time to dream. He was always sharp, not just in school, but socially too. He wasn't loud, didn't try to be the center of attention, but he watched everything. He paid attention. And he noticed that rap was becoming massive. It seemed like everybody wanted to either be a rapper or at least be able to spit bars if needed. So by the time he got to Jersey Village High School in Houston, that's exactly what he was doing. He was writing bars at home to use during lunch, during freestyle battles, but he wanted it to appear as though the things that he was rapping was something that he was rapping off the top of his head. So he got real good at writing bars that could basically be fill in the blank bars for when the moment came, like making fun of someone's shoes or their clothes. Another person who was doing the same thing in the same school was Chamillionaire's lifelong friend, Paul Wall. They grew up on the same street and were basically complete opposites. Paul was the loud one, the extrovert, and Chamillionaire was the quiet observer.
From the first time I met Chamillionaire, we growing up together, like I always knew that this was not, it was different than other friendships I had or the things we did together. Like freestyling at the school bus, you know what I'm saying, or at the lunch table, or at the, basketball games, track meets, all those kind of things. It was like
chemistry.
Yeah, the chemistry was so different than, because it might have been a group of 5 or 6 of us. For everybody freestyle, none of us were rappers at the time. We just were, basketball players or playing track, and we just freestyling for fun. But definitely me and Chamillionaire had that chemistry that was like, it was very different than all the other, chemistry that was there.
The two became close friends, and eventually, after high school, they teamed up and started a group called the Sleepwalkers. And this was one of their first real steps into rap as a career, although it didn't take off immediately. In the meantime, they both worked together as club security, a promo team that would hand out flyers for other more popular rappers in the city, and they even threw a few parties back in the day just to keep their names in the mix. This eventually led to them abandoning the Sleepwalkers group as a name and forming a new group called the Color Changing Clique. And this clique had a few different members, including Chamillionaire and Paul Wall, but also a guy named PKT, another guy named 5050 Lil Twin, and Lou Hawk. And there were some other members associated with the Color Changing Clique, like Razak, who was Chamillionaire's little brother, and Young Road too. Chamillionaire and Paul Wall dropped a ton of music together, releasing several mixtapes in the early stages of their career. And they would eventually begin to make noise on the rap scene in Houston by opening shows for Swisha House, which was a label that was owned by DJ Michael 5000 Watts, which at the time was massive in Houston. And this eventually led to them getting a deal with Swisha House.
Me and Chamillionaire, we started off as water boys in the game, man. We was passing out flyers, we was DJing, throwing parties, man. We did everything. We used to be the bouncers at the club, the doorman, taking the door stuff. But really, man, what we was really hot on was promotions, man. We was the water boys, man. We started at the bottom and worked our way up to the top. That's how we got in cool with Watts, We of course rap, we did our own thing. And good mind things alike, You know how the fairy tale goes. Great mind think alike. We came together, collaborated with Watt, and one thing led to another, and it was like, Bill Gates, What's up? You don't want to say, we took over the game. Y'all tell the truth. We took over the game.
Man, how did y'all two boys hook up, man?
Yeah, probably we known each other since we was this high, man. So 6 years old, man.
That's lovely.
That's why we vibe so good together.
What school y'all went to?
Oh man, that's all.
Paul Wall with cornrows is crazy. But anyways, at the time, Swisha House was on fire in Texas, and one of their main marketing tools was mixtapes. This is really where Chamillionaire and Paul Wall got their first bit of traction and were able to start developing fan bases of their own, with their first appearance being on this song right here titled You Can't Resist, which was a remix to a Missy Elliott song.
What's that, Woody? It's Chameleon. Got a few words to say on behalf of that Swisha House, huh? What? Is you a hot girl? If not, girl, can't be touching my hot spot, girl. I can't be all up in that cock, girl. I'm running with Michael Watts, girl. This is our world. What you can't tell? Just look at the ice in my bezel. My bread is green, but it ain't stale. TV's in a 600 V12 while it be swell, and I'm slugged up. The chameleon be tatted and thugged up.
But while things were starting to look up, there were cracks forming behind the scenes. Chamillionaire and Paul Wall were hungry, not just for fame, but for control. And Swisha House, for all of its success, wasn't giving them that. The label had a blueprint that worked: freestyle heavy mixtapes, slowed down production, and DJ Michael 5000 Watts running point. But Chamillionaire, he had bigger visions. He wasn't trying to just be a local star. He wanted to be a superstar. So not long after their buzz started building, both Chamillionaire and Paul Wall decided to make the decision to leave Swisha House altogether. And that's when they linked up with the new team, Paid in Full Entertainment, which was owned by a guy named Mad Hatter.
We probably got Paul and Cam because of Ron C. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I want to think so, because all these guys in the Swisha House at the time. But I think he was a catalyst in the Paul and Cam. I liked Cam because on one of the mixtapes, he did a sly remark about J Mac. I don't remember what Watts mixtape it was, but he said this funny line about J Mac. And I said, oh, I like this dude. And then I loved Paul. I did not know he was white at the time. I said, let me get this straight. There's a white boy that sounds like he's black in the Swisha House. Oh, we got to get him. We going to the top.
Under Paid in Full's direction, Chamillionaire will release what a lot of people consider to be his first hit, a song titled In Love With My Money featuring Paul Wall. Now, I know a lot of people consider Chamillionaire to be quote unquote a one-hit wonder because of Riding Dirty, but the truth is songs like this show how untrue that was, because this record was massive in the streets. It was an undeniable hit. Paul Wall and Chamillionaire stayed on the Paid in Full label for a few years, making music and even dropping an album that many consider to be a classic called Get Your Mind Correct, which peaked at number 67 on the Billboard charts, selling over 150,000 units, and was even nominated for Indie Album of the Year by The Source magazine. Their plan was working well, but admittedly, the two weren't the happiest about being in a group together and wanted to have solo careers. This is something that Paul Wall and Mad Hatter have both said over the years.
They signed immediately, and now in retrospect, when I talked to Cam, I don't think Cam really wanted to sign per se as a group. Somehow, I think they felt like they were bullied. I don't know if by me or Big Cat, but bullied into being Paul Wall and Chamillionaire.
We was just forcing something, going in the studio, making music. We was forcing it just for the money.
Things got worse when they got successful and money became involved, leading to the two slowing down their joint output. But Paul went on to release his album Chick Magnet under Paid in Full, while Chamillionaire never did release another album through them until after the two had departed from the label. The joint album Controversy Sales was released after Paul Wall and Chamillionaire left the label. Plus, there was an incident in Tyler, Texas, where Paul got into a confrontation with Chamillionaire's little brother, Razak, and ended up robbing him and snatching his chain off of his neck, allegedly.
Chamillionaire dropped this mixtape, I think it was called Mixtape Messiah. In the mixtape, Chamillionaire's brother made a comment about Paul Wall's mother. It was something to the effect of, don't front, I know your mama, but it's all good, I still love you. Like the way his brother explained it to me was that he wasn't trying to insult his mother. He was just saying like, don't try to be something that you're not. You know what I mean? Because it was like, they wanted this whole thing, like Paul Wall really grew up really Christian. He used to carry a Bible all through high school. And then, once he started to blow up a little bit, he started talking about, started swearing, started talking about smoking and drinking and stuff like that. And their point was like, don't try to act like this is not really who you are. But you mentioned someone's mother in a rap, people get fired up. Chamillionaire's brother got jumped.
Chamillionaire and Razak ended up releasing music after this, dissing Paul Wall.
A Texas legend with the most lyrical style. Single hook and spit ain't always about a freestyle. We don't try to be pals, no man. Don't wanna holler at me now. You should write a book and call it How to Be Down. Asking why do we clown? Cause I'm the truth. I look in the mirror and say thank you for being the only rapper that admit you ain't a gangster. Yeah, I know you gon' love how vivid the picture is. I paint you. You're feeling like you a realer nigga than me in your heart, ain't ya? It used to read the Bible, trying to give a nigga hugs, only punch me from behind when you jump me in the club. Not a scratch, not a scar, not a cut, not a smudge. Nigga used to go to church, now you wanna be a thug. You went from Gulf Bank to 4-4 to 5-9 South Lee, trying to fit in so you grill and show your mouthpiece. It's Razak, boy. My brother told me to chill out, but you way too fake for all that, boy. I see you by yourself, and you ain't trying to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? I see you in the club and you trying to jump me, you know what I'm saying? With about 5 other dudes with your boys or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So the funny thing about that is this fool was only punching me in the back like a little gal or something, you know what I'm saying? Now you want to be a G. Now you want to sip the bar and blow the dro. And you was a grown man in your 20s wearing SpongeBob watches from Burger King. I seen you in the source, man. Don't try to front like you wasn't. You used to claim the North Side. Now you talking about you on 5-9 in South Lee. No disrespect to South Lee, you know what I'm saying? But Paul Wall, you a perpetrator. You ain't from there.
And that's another thing. A lot of magazines ask me about me and Paul, and I really just don't be giving them no real answer. Right. But I'll be like, nah, we ain't cool. And that's a real big reason about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, as many times as we seen Paul before, it really just got out of control. Right. There was plenty of times we could have beat his ass. Right. Like me and Razak seen him at the mall before that situation even happened, and talked to him like, man, you know what I'm saying, and told him what it was, good luck with your career. Yeah. Then after that, my brother at the club by himself, and he trying to jump my brother with everybody
all his homeboys, you know.
Right.
Razak show up at the club, Razak there, he got his chain on, you know what I'm saying? The DJ shot him out, you know, Chamillionaire, the deal and all that.
Right.
And Razak by himself, next thing you know, everybody jumping on him. You know what I'm saying? He didn't even know they was there. And then the word about that got out in the streets. And it's like, come on, Paul is just, he doing something that is not him. Why is he trying to be that, man? Everybody know him being North Side, and then he turned to 59 South Lee or whatever he doing. You know what I'm saying? But, so it's personal, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, I still, to this day, I can't believe that. He went and typed on his two-way, told everybody that they got my brother's chain and they beat him up. My brother was unbruised. The nigga caught a pistol case. So everybody's in the streets. When I go out, they all ask me about it. You know, I had to pay for the lawyers and all kind of stuff, man. That made me real mad. But my brother got his chain. They ain't get none of that. They lying about everything. They trying to say they got his chain and they beat him up, man. That nigga wasn't even touched, man. That nigga was laughing after it was over with the police officers, man.
According to 50/50 Lil Twin, an original member of the Color Changing Clique, this caused a great division between everybody in the group.
You know, Paul, Cam, Razak, you know, being that they stayed in the same neighborhood when you grew up childhood friends, and they're in Inwood Northwest, I'm in Inwood North. Well, I'm on Tidwell, but at the same time, we all grew up as brothers. So I feel like when brothers are feuding, you let brothers sort it out, and you know, something of that manner, it caused a great division because, you know, Razak and Cam are blood brothers, and then as far as Paul, you know, they hung out together, they played together, they hooped together. So it was a discomfort, you know what I mean?
After the fallout, Paul Wall decided to go back to Swisher House, releasing a ton of music and hits like Still Tipping, but Chamillionaire decided to take another path. He was tired of not having full control of his career, so he decided to start his own label called Chamillionaire Records.
What's coming up next for you?
Man, I'm trying to brand my company, Chamillionaire. That's what it is.
From here, he would go on to flood the streets with mixtape after mixtape, most notably his Mixtape Messiah series, which the first installment of had over 60 songs. And he wasn't just rapping, he was building a brand. He even launched his own website where he would sell merch, music, his friends' music. He was building a mailing list for fans, so he would own the data associated with it and would always be able to deliver things directly to his fans like mixtapes when they came out. Nowadays, it doesn't seem that impressive, but during the period that Chamillionaire was doing this, nobody was. He was way ahead of the curve when it came to tech, which is interesting considering just a few years beforehand, he had said this.
On the .com.
Well, first of all, I ain't no computer person, you know what I'm saying?
Fast forward to 2012, and Chamillionaire was giving presentations on how he used tech to further his career. And during one of these presentations, he broke down exactly what he used to do using this website to market himself and his music.
Okay, I'm gonna make a vault on my website, right? And in the vault, we're gonna have a leaderboard. So all of these fans are gonna do actions for me. I kind of use the military theme. You know, my company is called Chamillionaire. So we started doing levels and badges. Like, you know, you could become a sergeant, a general, and all these different levels in the Chamillionaire. So now these fans have bragging rights. So look, this is some of the stuff I started putting up in the award center. I put up a Mixtape Messiah plaque. This is one of my mixtapes. I went and made a plaque for it. I've got the original painting from my second album. I've got the jacket I wore in the Riding Dirty video. The reward actually gets sent to the fan. The fan sends me the picture. I upload the picture for everybody, and he brags to everybody like, haha, look at me with the plaque.
He built a MySpace page that racked up millions of page views and even built an online forum with almost 40,000 people that were registered as users. Chamillionaire was one of the first rappers to leverage the internet and social media and use it to his advantage. And yes, this was all done before Soulja Boy claimed he was the first rapper to use the internet to blow up. This worked great for Chamillionaire and his brand, and as time went on, he did eventually start seeing real support, except this time, instead of going with a local label like Paid in Full or Swisher House, he decided to shop his music around two different major labels. However, instead of becoming desperate for a deal, he decided to use the approach of, I'm not starving for a deal, I'll take one if it's good enough, but I'm completely fine if I don't. And it worked, with him eventually getting signed to Universal Music Group.
You know what I think is dope is when somebody can come and dangle whatever it is right in front of you, and you know that you don't need that.
Yeah, I love it. I do it all the time.
Now, people think that I have that mentality because I have money. When I had no money,
When I
That's
had
why
a
you
little
have
money,
money.
I always was like that. I remember we was about to get signed by Sony Records. We went to the CEO's house. We was there in New Jersey or something at his big mansion. And he was asking me about what we're doing. I told him at the time, I think I was making 8,000, 9,000 a show or something like that. And I was like, I'm making 8,000, 9,000 a show. And he was like, what? And he stood up on his desk and pulled out money and threw it on the ground. Do a show for me. Yep. He was like, do a show for me. He's like, you bragging about that? He's like, you want to get plaques? You want to go platinum? You want to take over the world? You got to come to the big leagues. But he didn't like the fact that I was talking in a way like I didn't need a record labels. When I went to Universal and got signed, I had walked into every record label before Universal and walked in with their stickers on my shirt. And I walked in, Universal was looking like, you went to everybody except for us? And I was just like, yeah. And I started off the conversation saying, I just want to let y'all know I'm perfectly comfortable leaving here without a deal.
He ended up signing a joint venture deal between Chamillionaire and Universal, which at the time was one of the hardest types of deals to secure, similar to what Birdman did with Cash Money and Master P did with No Limit. With the Universal deal locked in, Chamillionaire was finally stepping into the big leagues, but unlike a lot of artists who get signed and immediately let the label take over, Chamillionaire came in with this strategy. He already had the mixtapes, he already had the fan base, and now he had the machine behind him. So the timing of this couldn't have been better. And in 2005, he dropped his debut major label album titled The Sound of Revenge. And the rollout was flawless. He sold over 130,000 copies in the first week of putting this album out, hitting the number 10 spot on the Billboard Hot 100, then selling over 800,000 copies of this album by the second week, meaning that at an average cost of $13 an album, he generated between $10 and $11 million in the first 2 weeks with this album. And eventually the album would pass 1 million and then 1.5 million sales, going platinum. After the money was split with Universal and the cost of producing the album, it's safe to say that Chamillionaire probably generated at least $2 to $4 million for himself with this release. The lead single on this album was titled Turn It Up, and it featured another Texas rapper named Lil Flip, with the beat being made by legendary producer Scott Storch. Despite many people saying Chamillionaire only had one hit song, which was Riding Dirty, this song, Turn It Up, was undeniably a hit record too. This song would earn a gold plaque, selling more than 500,000 copies by itself and peaking on the charts at number 46. But it was the second single on this album that changed everything. Riding featured the legendary Crazy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony, and the song was everywhere. Commercials, video games, movies. It turned Chamillionaire into a global name almost overnight. If you were alive in 2006, you heard this song, whether you wanted to hear it or not. It was so big that it even landed him on tours with people like Sierra, Lil Wayne, and T.I. The song not only went 4 times platinum, but also sold over 4 million ringtones at roughly $1 a piece, making Chamillionaire the first multi-platinum ringtone artist in history. And later that year, he went on to win a VMA award and a Grammy for this song, taking home the award at the Grammys for Best Rap Performance by a Duo or a Group.
That's a hell of a list right there. Somebody got to win now. And the winner is Chamillionaire featuring Crazy Bone. They want to catch me riding dirty.
Man, I cannot believe I just won this award, man. I'm sitting behind 50 Cent, and he just told me I was going to win. I did not believe it, man. This is crazy, man. Man, a person could not thank God as much as I thank God this year. I feel like God been blessing me like crazy, man. So first off, I got to give thanks to God. I want to say thanks to MTV, all the fans that have been supporting me since day one. I want to say thanks to Universal, my publicity, management, everybody. I don't want to start naming names and make nobody mad, you know what I'm saying? I do want to give a special rest in peace shout out to Fat Pat, DJ Screw, Hawk, who's a legendary Screwed Up Click member who lost his life recently, and he was on a bonus disc of my album, and he always let me know about the importance of being humble. So I definitely want to dedicate this award to him. You know, shout out to Crazy Bone. And the best thing about this award right here is nobody can cancel this. Gia, Chamillionaire, man.
Then the song got even bigger when Weird Al Yankovic made a parody version of it called White and Nerdy, which also hit the Billboard charts, peaking at number 9 and giving Weird Al his first ever platinum record too. At this point, Chamillionaire was filthy rich. He had officially made it, but instead of being reckless with his newfound wealth, he had a different idea. He wanted to keep what he earned and never wanted to go back to being broke again, so he started to invest his money. He opened up a car customization shop called Fly Rides, where him and his team would create unique cars for music videos and for rappers, where they would rent them out for thousands of dollars a day to everybody that Chamillionaire had met in the industry. And also, if they wanted to purchase a car or just wanted a car customized, they would do that too.
Yeah, y'all know what it is. It's your boy Chamillionaire, the mixtape Messiah. We out here in my custom car shop, man, with my dog Big E, my business partner. We out here making the rides look fly. We call it Fly Rides, and everybody's seen the Turn It Up video, you know. They seen the candy red car from that. That's one of the projects that we did. We put it in the video and we make these cars famous out here, man. You know what I'm saying? More than just rappers being famous now. You know, I come out from the bank and people taking pictures with my car now. You know what I'm saying? So we do that big out here. We got all the custom cars and, you know what I'm saying, trying to do it big. You know what I'm talking about? Like what we do is we'll take an old car and turn it into something, you know what I'm saying? It started off old and now you got the candy paint out here. You hear everybody rapping about this candy paint thing in Texas. This is what they mean by candy paint. It's so glossy, it looks like it's wet. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think this ran at the end of the day and do all this shit for the car?
Man, dog. Man, it's a good 60,000 in this one, man.
This was a solid business venture, but it wasn't his only one. He also started a modeling agency called Masterpiece Mindframe, where he worked with models to book work in the industry. The motto for this company was, "Your mind comes before your frame," which I think is a dope message to the women that were looking to get work in this industry. After this, he started his third venture, which was called Victory Tour Buses, where he would buy luxury tour buses equipped with Wi-Fi, TVs, and then he would rent those tour buses out to artists that were on the road touring. It's safe to say that Chamillionaire was making major moves, but when it came time for him to release his sophomore album or his second album under Universal, he started to run into some issues. Titled Ultimate Victory, Chamillionaire's first problem with this album was that the label wanted it to be released with no swearing. At first, he played it off like that's what he wanted to do and told all of his fans that it was his idea, but eventually he came clean, telling people that this album was only released that way because that's how the label wanted it done, and saying that they had basically forced his hand.
So I know I got the Rockstar version featuring Lil Wayne on the album, and it's edited. It's an edited version because the whole album is edited. But I figure, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna leak the curse word version, because I'm not one of these people that's against the curse words, you know what I'm saying? I don't want people to think that I want all music to be clean. I just did my verses that way, and then in the media, they started eating it up like Chamillionaire's album's gonna be completely clean, when that's not at all what I intended. I just wanted people to know that I wasn't gonna be cursing, which I never really cursed anyway, so it wasn't really nothing new, you know what I'm saying? But you know, I know Lil Wayne has some edited words on there, and I was gonna leak that version of Rockstar just so people can have it. If you like the curse words, that's cool, you know. But you know, it was a label decision. A lot of people called me, begging me like, Cam, you know, I need you to put this album out clean, man, because in the media, it's all in the marketplace, they're already talking about that. And then it was like a big thing with Walmart and some of the stores that just really did not want me to put out a curse word version. So hopefully the fans, you know, love that and still don't, you know, be disappointed in that, you know what I'm saying? Because that was a move that I felt like, you know, I really shouldn't have been forced to make, but I understand why it was made, you know what I'm saying? So
the next problem was that they weren't marketing the album. While there were a few songs that did well, like Rockstar that featured Lil Wayne, none of his songs on this album even came close to what Riding Dirty did, mostly because of how little the label pushed it. Still a success, but not nearly as successful as his first album. Then, when it came time for his third album on the label, titled Venom, he ran into delay after delay, mostly because the label kept wanting to make creative changes to it, meaning that it got pushed back multiple times, not allowing Chamillionaire to capitalize off of his previous buzz. Because of the frustration and setbacks with the label, Chamillionaire was ready to leave and go back to his original grind independently, especially after he learned that he could have the label audited, and when he did, he found out that they were hiding hundreds of thousands of dollars from him.
The state of the music industry is designed to rip off an artist. That's what I believe. I believe that when the check gets handed to an artist, the check is normally not right. The first person that told me this was Nelly. Nelly told me, you know, you gotta learn how to do this thing called an audit. And I was like, what is that? And then he was like, man, you gotta get a lawyer. And so I searched, I found Jay-Z's auditor, right? And then this guy went and said, I'll do it for, you know, I'm not gonna charge you up front, I'm gonna take a piece. And I was like, okay. So he goes and he finds over $600,000 that the label hid from me. So I was like, wait a second. is this the way it always is? He's like, yeah, you got to keep on doing this. So I realized all my peers didn't know this, that, you know, I got into the music industry and thought that when you have a song that's number one, that it just goes magically because your song's good. It's paid. Like, payola is not supposed to be like a thing, but it's real. Like, I had to pay a lot of money to get my record to number one. And I started looking at the music industry differently, and all of my peers, I started focusing more on equity, right? I wasn't the guy that was going out and trying to chase a piece of a show that somebody's gonna pay me $10,000 to do. I wanted to get a piece of the actual thing that was holding these buildings up. So I realized all these guys weren't thinking like that. And the way I got off of Universal when they didn't wanna let me go is I told them, if you don't let me go, I'm gonna go teach all these guys on the label how to do an audit. And they let me go because of that. They didn't wanna pay all that money.
But ultimately, none of this mattered because Chamillionaire was already pivoting away from music anyways and found himself interested in something else, tech. Being a rapper who adopted tech to market and promote his music early, he felt connected to the tech industry. And this interest would ultimately lead him to joining tech conferences where he would learn about the industry. His first conference was at Stanford University, and it opened Chamillionaire's eyes to the Silicon Valley culture. He saw how digital innovations were disrupting the industry. For example, the rise of Napster and music piracy in the early 2000s, and Chamillionaire actually said that he urged the executives of these record labels to invest in tech solutions and new business models, but said that his suggestions to these music executives were met with skepticism. He told the Black Wall Street Times, quote, "I was like, wait a second, I don't understand how these people are building companies that are killing our industry and nobody cares." With that, he soon started going to gatherings like TechCrunch, Disrupt, and CES. Often he would appear as just another curious attendee, blending in with other techies that were there, not really letting everybody know who he was. This was highly unusual for a platinum selling rapper, but Chamillionaire was immersing himself in a world far removed from platinum grills and rap ciphers, and it eventually would pay off. He got involved with a company called Say Now, which was a company that provided phone numbers to celebrities and allowed the celebrities' fans to call and leave messages for their favorite artist. Soulja Boy infamously put his Say Now number in his song Kiss Me Through the Phone, and Chamillionaire's part in this company was simple. He helped connect the executives of Say Now with artists in the industry, and in return, they gave him a percentage of the company, real equity. And when the company sold to Google for, quote, tens of millions of dollars, Chamillionaire likely seen a massive payday from it, solidifying his idea that music wasn't how he would build wealth for the future.
I was talking to my lawyer at the time, who's Don Passman, and he's, Oprah's lawyer. He doesn't have, rappers. I'm the only one. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, man, let's go do this tech stuff, man. There's this industry that's just cannibalizing this music industry. Let's go get involved in this stuff. And he wrote the book on the music industry, and he was like, I can get you out of this deal and get you to another deal. And I was like, I don't want to be in this place because it's designed for us to fail. We're chasing riches and not wealth. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go, try to mess with this tech stuff. I started advising. The first company I started advising for got bought by Google. And that's when I knew it was real. I was like, whoa, this is a real thing.
At one of these tech conferences, Chamillionaire met a man named Mark Suster, who was a prominent venture capitalist and also the CEO of the biggest venture capitalist firm in Los Angeles at the time. Suster quickly recognized that Chamillionaire wasn't just another celebrity dabbling in tech, but that he was serious. And so the two kept in touch, and Suster became a mentor of sorts, introducing Chamillionaire to startups and teaching him the ropes of angel investing. Suster gave Chamillionaire a list of 10 companies that he saw potential in and asked Chamillionaire to pick one to invest in, and when he did, it was a home run. He chose a company called Maker Studios, which was an online video talent network launched in 2009. Maker Studios was essentially a multi-channel network for YouTube creators, which in hindsight was a brilliant idea as YouTube's popularity did skyrocket shortly after this. Chamillionaire invested about $1.5 million in the Maker Studios, and a few years later, in March of 2014, the Walt Disney Company agreed to acquire Maker Studios for $500 million upfront and then $950 million with earnouts, and the final sales price ended up being about $675 million cash. Chamillionaire's cut from this exit was reportedly over $20 million. In other words, his $1.5 million stake turned into an 8-figure payday and a return on investment that dwarfed the money that he had made in music. The Maker Studios jackpot was life-changing, but it was about more than money. It instantly boosted Chamillionaire's credibility in the tech world, because here was a rapper that turned investor who picked a winner that even Disney wanted. Over the next decade, he amassed a portfolio rumored to include 60 different startup investments, and Chamillionaire focused on companies where he felt he understood the product and could leverage his expertise in branding and consumer behavior. Some of the notable investments and exits from Chamillionaire's portfolio include Cruise Automation, which was a self-driving car tech startup that Chamillionaire invested in early in the company's life in 2013. This investment paid off in a big way in 2016 when General Motors acquired Cruise for over $1 billion. It was another massive exit, and Chamillionaire was a part of it. He also invested in Lyft in 2014 when Uber and Lyft were battling for market share, and when Lyft IPO'd in 2019 and went public on the stock market, its market cap hit a staggering $24 billion. Chamillionaire's early stake had grown immensely in value, and he stated in 2019 that he was still holding his stocks in the company and was bullish on it, hoping that the company would continue to grow, and he said that he was holding this investment for the long term. He also invested in Ring Doorbell, which paid off big when Amazon acquired it for $1 billion in 2018. And those were just the headliners. Chamillionaire's portfolio extends to many other startups. For example, he invested in the scooter company Bird. He invested in an on-demand storage startup called MakeSpace, a Latino-focused media startup called MeToo, several different fintech companies, and even some cryptocurrency and blockchain-related ventures. By 2015, he had so many brag-worthy money moves under his belt that the venture capital community formally welcomed him into their ranks. In February of 2015, Upfront Ventures announced Chamillionaire was joining them as an entrepreneur in residence. This appointment made headlines, and it was reportedly the first time that a rapper had ever been given a formal role at a venture capital firm.
Entrepreneur in residence is, there's a venture capital firm, and I will go in there and sit in there every day, basically be involved in all the pitch meetings. When pitching to a venture capitalist, I'll be sitting in the room just listening.
Essentially, Chamillionaire had reinvented himself as a venture capitalist in training, an artist who could talk cap tables and user acquisition as comfortably as he once freestyled on mixtapes. As Chamillionaire's investing success grew, so did his conviction that smart money management was the key to lasting wealth. He told Afrotech.com, quote, "People need to understand the power of spending their money the right way, noting that cars and jewelry depreciate in value, whereas investments in companies can grow your net worth over time." This philosophy marked a sharp contrast from the stereotypical rapper lifestyle. His personal evolution from flamboyant writing hitmaker to serious investor is encapsulated in that shift in priorities. In 2017, he began teasing that he was working on something bigger than music, and that project turned out to be a company called Convos, which was a new tech startup that he co-founded. Convos was unveiled in early 2018 at the Upfront Summit, and Chamillionaire told people that this was going to be a social media app centered around video conversations. The concept was simple. Users post short video messages around 15 seconds, often directed at celebrities or public figures, and those influencers, celebrities, and people can then make video replies to create a back and forth conversation visible to anybody in the community. In effect, Combos was an attempt to humanize social media and give fans a real voice. Just listen to a piece of this very well put together presentation that Chamillionaire did for it.
My name is Chamillionaire. A lot of y'all know me for that song, iconic song I might add, Riding Dirty. But I'm more than just a musician. I'm a CEO, I'm an angel investor, and a founder. It's an honor and a privilege to be here in front of all y'all accomplished individuals. And when I say accomplished, I don't mean the amount of money that you have in your accounts. I'm talking about the fact that everyone here has made it to a place in life where you're doing what you love. Most people, if you ask them, they'll say they got a lucky number or lucky this. I'm a person that has a lucky letter. Most people don't have a lucky letter, but the C is a very powerful letter. I mean, M is like That's not really that cool. Z is like, that's not really that cool, but the C is like, that's incredible. That's powerful. And let me explain to you why the C is so powerful, because the C itself, it starts at a destination and it curves all the way around, and before it makes a complete circle, it stops. And the irony of that is complete and circle both start with C's. So it stops just enough to let you know that there's still a little bit more to go. You see that? That's a tweet that I posted because I was watching a game, and I'm from Houston, Texas, and I love the Houston Rockets. So I'm watching the Houston Rockets play. Damian Lillard throws up this three-pointer, and he hits it and sends my team home. And I go to Twitter because I'm like, I want to have a conversation about this, and I'm like, Damian Lillard just ripped Houston's heart out right in front of our eyes, Mortal Kombat style. And I'm waiting to have this conversation. I'm waiting to see a response. What? F you, Lakers fan. What do the Lakers have to do with this right here? This is Houston and Portland, man. What are you talking about? Why? In real life, nobody's ever come up to me and have a conversation like that. And that kind of bothers me, right? So I click on this guy. I look. He doesn't have a picture. He's got, his name is, what is that? Brew, whatever that is. He's not, like, who are you? Why are you here? And you know what? I do what any celebrity would do. I run over here and I say, who's I'm gonna ignore you because you're beneath me. And you know what he does? He gets smart. He gets back up, boom! Retweet, 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 retweet. All his friends, and that's my timeline. That's what I have to wake up to, and we call that communication. I have a problem with that. In this world, you should be able to communicate with these people. That's a problem. We use social media to communicate with each other, but there are just too many broken parts of this experience. Shouldn't we be having a conversation here? Shouldn't I be able to say my piece and you listen and then you say your piece? Shouldn't we be able to communicate in a way that creates a productive conversation? So that's why we decided that we wanted to try to create a solution. We created Combos. And our goal is to connect the world through collaborative video conversations.
Around this time, Chamillionaire became an outspoken champion for diversity in tech. He noticed the same thing that many others have. The tech startup ecosystem was, and still is, dominated by white male founders and investors. In mid-2019, he announced a contest in partnership with another fellow rapper, E40, and a company called Republic. The contest was simple. People would pitch their ideas or their companies to E40 and Chamillionaire, and they would pick winners and award money to deserving startups. But the caveat was the only people allowed to participate were either women or people of color.
We're holding a pitch competition, a $100,000 pitch competition where we'll be investing in a minority or a woman-founded startup. We believe that these demographics of companies are underrepresented, and we want to bring more awareness to this. So we partnered with E40, who's a legendary hip-hop artist, Republic, which is a platform for non-accredited investors to invest in startups for little amounts of money. And Damon John is going to be helping us judge. And, you know, hopefully we'll find a really great company. I just feel like there's just a lack of awareness for companies like this. You know, in Silicon Valley, there's always a lot of people investing in companies that don't normally look like me. And I just came from a big tech summit this weekend in Oakland called Afro Tech. And there was like 10,000 entrepreneurs and investors and engineers. And when people say that they can't find African-American startups to invest in, it just sounds a little crazy to me. So we're trying to do what we can to create more awareness.
Now, I could spend the next hour going over companies that Chamillionaire has invested in and his philanthropic work that he's done over the years, but I think the message that Chamillionaire is sending is clear. Today, he still releases music, mostly for his day one fans, through his website, where he also runs a very active blog and even has a forum for people who are starting companies to submit and pitch their ideas to him for investment opportunities. When he's not doing that, he's traveling around the country and trying to inspire the younger generation to believe in themselves and to take risks, to branch out, and don't be afraid of failure.
My name is Chamillionaire. The tech industry happens to have so many different roles and so many different jobs and so many different people that are working to solve some of the most difficult problems, and often we don't see people that look like us in those roles. So I just wanted to kind of connect it to something that they could resonate with. So I used the Avengers theme and kind of, made them understand the differences in roles and skill sets, because we can all think about Avengers and, there's Incredible Hulk and there's Captain America and all these people that are all working for this bigger mission. And tech companies work kind of the same way.
Hi, my name is Ramaya Daniels. I'm 18 and I attended the Know Your Rights camp in Houston. I grew up listening to his music and it was it just felt like exciting, very exciting. As soon as the presentation was over, I called my mom and I was like screaming on the phone.
Yeah, I've always been the type of person that does that. I used to go to rap shows and throw money off of the stage and just, and people would think it was kind of crazy, but it's kind of my way of giving back. It's almost like I'm gonna do it anyways. So when you're in a scenario like this and you're dealing with a lot of kids that were, underrepresented and underprivileged, like there's one kid that told me he grew up in a foster home since he was like 4 years old, So you're looking at the makeup of the people that are there, and you're just like, man, you want to give people information, but sometimes you want to do a little bit more. So that's the reason why I did that. And I know just the DNA of what Colin is doing is aligned with that mission. I've been at previous camps. I've seen them give out backpacks and have Nike give out stuff, shoes. I saw Nick Cannon give out headphones one time. I was like, what is happening here? It's like Oprah, you get a car, you get a car. So I was just like, I already came in with that energy and that mindset, but I feel like the real reason is like, it's just sometimes you need a little bit of medicine inside of candy, get people to engage and remember stuff. And if I would have just told somebody some information, maybe it goes in without the other. But when it's connected to something like that and they leave with that $100 bill and they got to go tell their parent I made a $100 bill, it's like, why? Then they got to explain why. It's like, it connects a little bit deeper. So that's really what it's about getting young people to retain it. And sometimes you need something to wake them up,
Chamillionaire's pivot from music to tech has been nothing short of extraordinary. While many of his 2000s rap peers faded from the charts, Chamillionaire's quietly built a second act as a savvy investor. His net worth in recent years has been estimated to be around $50 million, although it's likely much more than that. And this is a fortune that is fueled largely by successful tech investments and business ventures rather than music royalties. Equally impressive is how he did it. He did it with foresight, humility, and willingness to learn. Unlike some celebrities who lend their name to startup investments as a vanity project and then disappear, Chamillionaire decided to actually put in the work to understand the tech that he was investing in. In the end, Chamillionaire's life story is a testament to reinvention. He went from selling mixtapes out of the trunk in Houston to selling startups in Silicon Valley. Few people in any industry manage a career pivot as dramatic and as fruitful as Chamillionaire's has been. It's no wonder that aspiring entrepreneurs and artists alike look to Chamillionaire as an example of how thinking beyond the mic can change your life. In a sense, Chamillionaire truly lived up to his name because he became a chameleon by adapting from one industry to another and became a millionaire many times over. Chamillionaire's story is truly a very inspirational story, and I highly suggest that everybody who watched this video maybe take a little bit of time and go watch other clips and videos from Chamillionaire, because you never know, you might just find yourself actually being inspired.